Alright guys, I am Miguel from UCGym.com, and today I'm bringing back the muscle anatomy series. Now, I did my first episode a couple months ago on biceps, and that video got quite a lot of views, which I don't know why it did, but it got like over 600, which is pretty impressive. But right now I have more information than I did before, and I can be a little bit more in depth with biceps, or any muscle part that I'm going to be talking about. So, once again I brought back the whiteboard. Hopefully you guys can see it this time. So what I did is I drew a diagram of the biceps muscle. Now we're talking about the biceps in the arm, the biceps brachii. Now the biceps brachii is not to be confused with the biceps femoris, which is a muscle group in the hamstrings. So biceps. The BI stands for 2 because there's 2 heads of muscles or muscle groups in the bicep itself. And then ceps just stands for head. And brachii is just like branch, so you can see there's 2 heads of the muscle. So I drew it so that the muscle is in my direction or plane. So if I extend my arm, this is identical to this. So to the right, I have the long head of the bicep, and an easy way to remember that is that the L in lateral head or long head is just to be thought of as lateral. So L, lateral, side. And then for short head, it's on the inside of the bicep. So this is a muscle group, these are the fibers, and then here in the dotted lines I drew the tendons. Hopefully you can see that. So these represent the tendons, these represent the tendons, this is the muscle group. So the origin and insertion of the bicep can determine its function. So it originates, both heads originate on the scapula. Now the scapula is your shoulder blade. Now this seems kind of weird, but it does originate there, and then inserts into the radius and the ulna of the forearm. So the radius is the bone. When you stick out your arm in anatomical position with your palms up, the radius is to the right and the ulna is to the left. So you can see how the lateral head or the long head will insert into the radius and the short head into the ulna. So what this helps you determine is that if the muscle group is here, then it's going to pull a muscle, or what it's connected to is going to bring it up. So the function of the bicep, there's 3 of them. It has elbow flexion, which is what we know as curling, and then you have wrist supination or forearm supination, which a lot of people don't know about, and that is when you turn your palm from palm down to palm up. Now supination this way, pronation this way. So if you look close enough, you can see that the bicep is relaxed here, and when you turn it, it's contracted. So if you do this when your elbow is flexed, you can see here, not much going on. If you turn it, you already see the head contracting of the bicep. So a lot of people don't understand this concept of flexion and supination, but that's what makes the bicep fully contract. So I'm going to discuss that in the exercises portion, but that is a function that a lot of people were not aware of. And then finally you have shoulder flexion, which also people don't know about. Now the biceps involvement in shoulder flexion is very minimal, but nevertheless it is there. So shoulder flexion is just a front raise essentially. So if you were to raise your arm up like this, your bicep is being worked just a little bit. And it's being worked even more so if you supinate your wrist. So if you were doing dumbbell raises or barbell raises or cable raises, if you were to do those, your palms up, and you come up, you're going to feel your bicep being worked just a little bit, and even more so if you bend your elbows just a little bit. You'll see that your bicep gets a little bit of recruitment when doing these exercises. So the bicep has 3 functions, 2 heads, potential dangers or potential injuries of the biceps. So your biceps are a fairly small muscle group compared to your other ones. Now if you try to pick up, let's say you want to curl with a barbell 60 pounds. Okay, that seems decently light. You can probably grind out about 10-12 reps. What if you try to bench press 60 pounds? Like butter, right? So the biceps are a very weak muscle in comparison to your other muscles like your legs or your chest or your back. So you have to choose your weight wisely when doing any bicep exercise. So potential injuries, you have bicep tendonitis, which is a result of overusing the bicep, and the tendon becomes inflamed, and over time it can actually detach. You have tendon tears and muscle tears, which are a result of overworking the bicep or having an injury through falling. So let's say you're jogging, You trip, you fall, you stick your arm out, and you hyperextend your elbow. Hyperextension meaning going past something's limit or past the 90 degree or the 180 degree plane. So if you fall, you push your elbow going out this way, you're stretching the bicep, and you just tear it. So that's a potential injury through the bicep. Next one, using too much weight, like I said. Bending elbows during deadlifts. Now, a lot of people, when they deadlift, they feel the need to bend their arms to help the barbell come up higher, so they feel like they're doing a full rep. But always keep your arms straight when doing a deadlift, because let's say you're deadlifting 350 pounds, 3 plates. You bring the weight up, okay, that's great, but if your elbows or your arms are flexed or bent just a little bit, you're putting all that weight on your biceps. Now imagine trying to curl 315 pounds. You're not going to do it. So always keep your arms straight when doing deadlifts if you don't want to tear a bicep. Finally, bicep detachment. Like I said, you probably fall down or overuse your bicep. You can detach your muscle from its insertion. Not likely the origin, but mostly the insertion. So next, there are the exercises. These are just a few out of the dozens or hundreds or thousands of exercises people come up with to work their biceps, but there are those core fundamental exercises everybody should do. So for biceps, you have your barbell or dumbbell curls. Now for the barbell, you can use a straight bar or what's it called? Easy bar. You can use the easy bar, the one that's wavy. You can use that so you can put less stress on your wrists, because the easy bar you can keep your wrists in this position instead of having them straight out like this, which is the flat bar or the straight bar is a better choice since your wrists are a little bit more supinated and you get a better contraction, but that's up to you. Next, you have your hammer curls. Now this is a really good exercise for developing the forearm and the brachioradialis and the brachialis and all these other muscles that we can talk about in another video, but I'm solely isolating the biceps. Even though it is a prime mover and you have your accessory movers and secondary movers through the brachioradialis and brachialis and forearm extensors and extensor carpi digitorum, all these other muscles. But hammer curls, really good exercise. Next you have Zottman curls, which no one's ever even heard of. Every person I've ever talked to, they don't know what the Zottman curl is. My school's basketball coach didn't know what it was and he liked it. I did these on Tuesday and today's Friday, and I'm still sore from doing them. I'll show you guys how to do them because they're a really good exercise. Next you have pull-ups. Now a lot of people don't know that your biceps are protruded when doing pull-ups, and some people do know because when they do pull-ups sometimes they grab the bar like this and then they bring themselves up. Now that is a good move to work the biceps, but a greater concept to understand is that anytime your elbow is being flexed, you're working your biceps. So if you're going to do a pull-up and you choose to go wide grip, then the less amount of flexion is going on in your elbow. Now if you go closer and you go all the way up, you can see your elbow's flexing pretty great. So the wider you go, the more back, less bicep. Closer you go, a little bit more bicep, still some back. And then lastly I put back exercises. So if you do any back exercise, the more pretty much your elbow flexes, the more bicep recruitment there is. Now, one thing that isn't necessarily confirmed or proven in the scientific world through like exercise physiologists and physical therapists and things like that is that the different grips you use to work the different heads of the bicep. Now, allegedly, using a wider grip works more the short head. So if you're going to do straight barbell curls, if you grab it wide, you're going to use the shorter head of the bicep more. Now if you grab it closer, through a narrow grip, you're going to work the long head of the bicep. So they say. But it all depends on who you are and your physiology and how you're built, and whichever way you feel it more. So all these exercises probably won't even work for you, and you can just use any of the other bicep exercises that exist, or these may work greatly for you and you're yielding great results. Now a lot of people think that doing certain exercises will increase the peak of their bicep, which is when you flex your bicep and it's just a mountain, and they say that doing half reps of bicep curls where you're just doing this portion are going to work your biceps more, but in reality it's not. If you want to increase like the peak of your biceps, you just need to have more muscle on there. The more muscle you have, when you flex, the more slack you have in there, building that mountain that people like Arnold Schwarzenegger had. And he did a lot of bicep curls and barbell curls, and look what he got, you know. He also used this contraption called the bicep blaster, which is something you put around your neck and sits on your torso, and you place your arms on it, and it brings your, it keeps you from doing any swinging, and it keeps everything straight. So yeah, it's pretty much explains everything I have on the board. Now next I need to tell you guys how to get a full contraction of the bicep. So I have these 10-pound dumbbells that won't really illustrate greatly a good pump or contraction for me, but so hopefully you guys can see. But I have a 10-pound dumbbell. So with this, a full contraction is when you have a muscle fully lengthened and fully contracted. So to fully lengthen the bicep, you have to flex completely the antagonist muscle that's in that place. So the bicep antagonist muscle is a tricep. So if you want to fully extend the bicep, you're going to have to flex your tricep. So with any exercise you do, if you do it with a flat bar, you flex your tricep, and if you're doing it with a dumbbell, flex your tricep again. Okay, I have to cut the video so you guys can see better what I'm doing. But so the bicep, you're going to flex the tricep, you're going to keep it flexed, and you're going to let your bicep fully lengthen. Now from here, you're going to bring the dumbbell up and supinate your wrist as you come up. As you're coming up, through the wrist supination, you're engaging the bicep more. As you come up, you're going to hold it, and you're going to bring it back down. So with this, you're fully engaging the bicep, and you're working it to its fullest potential. Now, to demonstrate a better exercise, the Zoutman curl, which I mentioned earlier, you're going to bring the dumbbell up, and then you're going to turn your wrists down. Now through this, you're working the bicep in its primary stage, and secondary stage, it's pronation. So you're going to bring it up, supinate, and then pronate, and then bring it back down. Now you're going to feel the forearm muscles being worked heavily here, which is a good thing because you need to have a proportional or balanced look to your arm. So you're going to bring it up, pronate, and then bring it down, and just repeat. So this is, a really good exercise to throw in, and that's pretty much it, or everything there is or has to do with biceps. So that pretty much concludes the video. If you want to see more things like this, head over to UCGym.com, and there's more anatomy videos to come.